Hello friends, good morning, happy Sunday. Hope that you guys are doing well. I'm wearing my Let Your Love, Let Your Light Shine tee, my pom-pom earrings from Crown Free. These are all products that support and empower survivors of human trafficking, as is my Hope bracelet. But that's not why I'm coming on here today. I'm coming on here today because I learned yesterday that apparently it was World Mental Health Day, and I learned via email. I got an email about it. And so it was kind of in the back of my mind all day. And I'm like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Because mental health is a big part of my journey. And the more that I thought about it, the more I'm like, what would I say about it? What would I post? What would that look like? And so, child interruption. It's all good. This is why I don't really go live. So, when I learned that it was the day, this is where my mind went. So I have a little insight into how my mind works. And if you don't really understand people, it's always good to get curious and sit back and ask them why they process and think the way that they do. And here's a little insight into how I did it. So I learned that it was the day. And I was like, well, who decides that it's the day? Like, we have National Coffee Day, we have National Cupcake Day, we have National Take Your Dog to Work Day. Like, we have all of these national days. And who decides that? Like, who decides that? So who decided that yesterday was World Mental Health Day? And secondly, why are we just devoting one day to something so important as mental health? And so I did a little research, and I want to share my statistics with you, because here are the facts on mental health. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, in 2018, 19.1% of U.S. adults experienced mental illness. That's 47.6 million people, or 1 in 5 adults. 4.6% of U.S. adults experienced serious mental illness in 2018, which is 11.4 million people. This represents 1 in 25 adults. 16.5% of U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experienced a mental health disorder in 2016, which is 7.7 million people. Then 3.7% of U.S. adults experienced a co-occurring substance use disorder and mental illness in 2018, which is 9.2 million people. So these are pretty high statistics. Like, this is a lot of people, and it's people that I believe have only gotten the data on. Like, I wonder how many people have mental illness that hasn't been recorded, because this might not even be an accurate number. As we're learning, accuracy of numbers and statistics and data is really an interesting place to be these days. But I wonder, with things being the way that they are now, and us living in this pandemic, as they're calling it. I think they've actually changed it. I don't believe it's called a pandemic anymore on the CDC website, last I knew, but I have not verified that. I just wonder why we have been in the place we've been since March over a virus, and we are dedicating one day to something as important as mental health. It doesn't sit right with me. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned about COVID and that it's not real. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm wondering why the emphasis has been placed so much on a virus as opposed to something that people have been living with for years. And I wonder how much of that is because there's such a stigma. Like, there is such a stigma around the topic of mental health. And my concern is that there is a stigma with COVID. We've got stigmas with the masks. We've got stigmas with social distancing. We've got stigmas with all of these things, and that is impacting our mental health. So maybe we need to take more than a day to dedicate it to Mental Health Day. There's the thought. So that's why I didn't address yesterday being Mental Health Day, because I couldn't quite wrap my mind around why we were only giving it one day, who decided that it was a day, what was the data. And I'm just a little bit befuddled by this. So I would love to hear your insight and your take on this, friends, because mental health is super important. It affects every part of our well-being and our family's well-being. and those that we're around and we interact with. You've been around people who are toxic and haven't worked through their issues, whether they have a diagnosed mental illness or not. And you know what that does to you. And I think that we are living in a time where people are not dealing with their issues, and it's affecting everybody. And I think that's why we are where we are. And you can blame whoever you want to blame, but if you haven't done your own work and you haven't healed your own wounds, you're going to bleed on those around you. So those are my thoughts the day after World Mental Health Day. I'd love to hear yours. I hope you have a beautiful day, friends.